We can start. So, Kanika, maybe it would be the best. I don't have any one from the organization, so maybe you can share the slides and um, you can share your presentation because you're visible now. You're with us now.
Cool.
Okay.
Just a second.
Mm-hmm. So while Kanika is sharing the slides, I'm just gonna briefly introduce myself and her. Some of you may know me. I'm Ivana Majarevic from Wikimedia Serbia. I work there as program and community manager. And today I'm here with you with Kanika Tamay from Wikimedia Deutschland. And we are going to talk about the Unlock Accelerator program, but focusing more on cross-regional collaboration and exchange. This is something that we've done for the first time this year, and we want to share some insights with you. So to hear maybe feedback from you and to maybe learn one from another. So with this being said, I'm passing through the Kanika so she can
Yes.
do. Okay, yeah.
Can you see the presentation?
We can see the presentation and you, so all loud and clear. You can continue.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And yeah, just also welcome from my side. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you live and in person, so I'm quite happy to have this opportunity to join you online and talk a little bit about what Wikimedia Serbia and Wikimedia Germany or Deutschland have been doing so far this year. But before we dive into the cross-regional, cross-affiliate collaboration, I would love to start with some context and how we wanted to unlock the journey towards Wikimedia 2020 and 2030. So the movement strategy, everyone's probably in the room knows what I'm talking about, and some of the recommendations. So we build upon recommendation number 9, innovate in free knowledge. And we came up with the Unlock program with the goal to promote innovative ideas and projects that break down social and technical barriers, to promote and support projects that achieve knowledge equity. Unlock is open to Wikimedians as well as to all free knowledge enthusiasts from outside the Wikimedia movement who share our vision. The program, as we've designed it so far, is a structured and very needs-oriented program that provides coaching and mentoring, skill development workshops, access to experts, and financial support that should help participating teams in the development of their project ideas. Unlock was founded and initiated by Wikimedia Deutschland in 2020 and has been running now for 3 editions and has supported 17 projects in total. So how does this program, or how does Unlock contribute to the implementation of the movement strategy? We created a program that is in line with some of the recommendations. As I mentioned, recommendation 9 is basically our framework and some principles as well of the movement strategy. So we do not have or own the answers to how we can best implement the movement strategy, but what we have been doing is to learn by doing and to take actions guided by the following questions that you can see here on the slide. So how can we achieve knowledge equity with social and technical innovations? How do we best contextualize such programs when we are talking about, programs that should fit the community purpose and needs? How to strengthen cross-affiliate collaboration and strengthen also our innovative capacity? How to seed power and generate more balanced partnerships among affiliates, and how to collaborate with people and institutions that are not from the immediate open knowledge movement. So now let's have a deep dive into how we run this program and why cross-regional collaboration is relevant in this year. Wikimedia Serbia and Wikimedia Deutschland teamed up this year and committed to one another to co-design and to co-implement the Unlock program. We also decided to open this collaboration to an organization that is not from the immediate Wikimedia movement, namely with Impact Hub Belgrade, which is part of another global network of social entrepreneurship and innovation. Why? Because we believe that this collaboration could first strengthen and build our capacities through joint growth, frequent exchange, and also by challenging one another. We hope that this collaboration could expand our network and increase the awareness for the program as well as for the movement. And we hope that this brings the Wikimedia community as well as the innovation entrepreneur community closer together to learn from one another and also to broaden the perspective of one another. All partners in this collaboration, so Wikimedia Deutschland, Wikimedia Serbia, and Impact Hub, have agreed to establish a collaboration in which we could learn from each other and empower one another. So we have tried to practice equity within our partnership and co-define values, roles, and responsibility. Here just an overview, who is responsible for what, but basically we bring in each party's expertise and experience and try to, establish this really equal partnership, not in terms of equal workload, because this would be unfair, but rather really looking at who is doing what at its best with their skills and capacities. We also practice this cross-regional setup with regards to the projects that we have supported in this year programs. So out of 34 even, applications that came in this year, we selected 7 diverse projects with a total number of 25 participants from Albania, Germany, Montenegro, and Serbia. That have been selected and supported since this summer. For instance, here we have Inclusio, a Serbian project that developed a tool that provides user-generated audio descriptions of visuals content to the blind and visually impaired. We have Moki Space, a truly cross-regional team with members from Albania, Macedonia, and Germany that work on a digital space to connect activists, grassroots initiatives, and civil society actors in the Western Balkans. And we also have Macht Sprache, a German-speaking team that developed a translation tool that supports politically sensitive and non-discriminatory translations. We added some links here, so please follow the links provided below in order to learn more about these projects and the other projects in Unlocked 2022. Now I would like to hand over to you, Ivana, to continue with some more insights.
Go on to another slide. Okay, as we mentioned here, you are familiar now with some of the projects we supported and the program itself, the activities itself. But what we wanted to address here is also progress that we have done so far. So the program itself, it lasts for 4 months. And within this short period of time, these project teams are having this opportunity opportunity to implement their solution, to create these project prototypes, and have this chance to develop their own skill set. So what we had is a kickoff event, but also regular check-ins with mentors and coaches. What does it mean? Kanika mentioned Impact Hub. This is the partner that is providing coaches that can help project teams grow by growing individual skills, but also using those skills in creating their project. Also, we had 3 events, which means that they are specifically focused on peer-to-peer exchange, skill input sessions, method workshops, and they were online. So people from Germany, for people from Albania, Serbia, Montenegro, they were together there exchanging their knowledge, but also having these learnings from coaches and experts. Here on this link that will be shared with you, you can see the midterm results, and this is also shared via CEE mailing list and Wikimedia L list. What is next? We have first Unlock Demo Day offline in-person event. It will be held in October, 27th of October, at Impact Hub, but it will be hybrid, so not okay. So not just people will be available to join in person, but also we will provide a live stream link so you can also join and hear their solutions, their presentations, and ask them questions if you have something for them. Don't worry, you will have this link. We will provide it very, very soon. So next slide. Thank you. Now we will share some of the learnings we have so far, and this is really important within the Unlock because we want to learn and to improve every next edition we have. So next, okay. One of the learnings, actually, we connected these learnings to the questions Kanika mentioned in the previous slides at the beginning of the presentation. And these are related to strategy recommendations, but we are going to present here mostly those questions that are related to cross-regional exchange. And first is strengthening cross-affiliate collaboration. So I was involved in previous edition as one of the experts within the input session at Unlock, and we've got this idea to jointly create and co-design the next Unlock. So we gathered together, we jointly co-designed the program, but also involved partner outside of the movement, so Impact Hub, and basically we worked together on co-creating the values we are going to respect during our collaboration. This was the basis of our collaboration. What we wanted to explain is why innovation is important within our movement, within the free knowledge movement, and not just, so basically to communicate this with the movement. Okay, next one. Partnership is good, right? But we have to have this balanced partnership. What does it mean? We are not looking at equal work allocation, but basically we are looking at what kind of resources, expertise, skills partners are bringing into the partnerships. So it was logical for Wikimedia Serbia to join because this year's geographical focus was Western Balkan and on the other side German-speaking area, so we wanted to help in that way. Then on the other hand, we have Impact Hub, which is bringing some other kind of expertise in these partnerships. We co-created, as I mentioned, values, and at the beginning of the partnership, we wanted to say, okay, we are aware that maybe some kind of conflicts can occur, but we want to know how do we want to handle that if that happens. We defined clear roles and responsibilities, which means that we are trusting in each other and know exactly who is responsible for what kind of task and work that needs to be done. And also, while doing this, we established this working model. That means that we gathered each week. We have these regular weekly meetings. We talked about what has happened last week, what are our next steps, do we want some other topics to cover, etc. We also have these retrospectives that are important for every partner because everyone can explain what was doing well over the, for example, a month, but also what do we want to see more, what do we want to improve in the next period of time. And in-person meetings, we had in-person meeting in Belgrade, and the next we will see each other at the demo day. Okay, and collaborating with people and institutions that are not from open knowledge movement. As Kanika explained a little bit more, this can be beneficial in terms of making our movement more diverse and inclusive, and using these different perspectives and angles from partners that are not directly involved into our movement. But of course, this does have some challenges in terms of creating this joint language, working language, right? So it was a bit difficult to explain to people who are not from our movement what is actually free knowledge, what is the knowledge equity. So we needed to make this clear communication line where we wanted to send a clear message what we want to achieve here. This is beneficial, as I said, but of course challenging at the same time. So collaboration with Impact Hub enriched our collaboration. They do have a lot of experience and expertise, but then on another hand, at some point we had some clashed communication, which means that they do have some different business model, different target groups, and we needed to explain this a little bit more clearly in the beginning. So basically we had some difficulties there, but we worked together to overcome them. And we didn't want just to come here and talk, okay, this is what we've done, and that's it. We wanted to talk about how it can be applied in other contexts, and mainly when we talk about this, we talk about Unlock as a new format in terms of innovation in free knowledge, and we do need that in order to better adapt to changes in the world, and to stay relevant to the world. But this is definitely not the only way, the only format to do that. So maybe in this context, acceleration program was the most logical one. But then on the other hand, in another context, in other chapter or community, it means that you can use hubs, or you can use idea labs, or you can use incubators. So whatever model works for you, you can actually try it. The example of trying a similar model is Wikimedia Argentina. So during our project, from the kickoff and during the events we had, Wikimedia Argentina actually shadowed the program, which means they've learned from the Unlock model, and they've started something similar. It is a smaller project, but it's adaptable in their context. And why this is important? It's important because they could avoid some mistakes that are made in the unlock, or they could do this faster, they could do it better, rather than doing it from scratch and all alone, without looking at this kind of a project. So with this, I'm finishing my presentation and asking if you have any kind of questions and need for explanation, comments, whatever. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Hello. Okay. I'm very interested in. I'm very interested in what you said about the audio interpretation for the blind people. Can you tell me something more if you are informed about it, or where I can find something about it?
Yeah, we will share the presentation, and in the presentation you can find the link. This is the link for all the projects. It can be seen what's done in terms of at the half time, right? And you can see the link to it. We mentioned the Inclusio in this presentation. So basically they are creating extension, browser extension that is helping providing user-generated descriptions of photos or graphical or images, so it can so blind and visually impaired people can click audio and listen to it. We are trying to connect that more with Wikimedia Commons, so it can be used and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe just in addition to that, it's a prototype, right? So the project team, which are 4 Serbian tech and developers, but also one project owner who is visually impaired, are trying to figure out the best prototype to how this challenge can be addressed. So I think there are running tests on Wikipedia, but also Wikimedia Commons to take a look of how these photos that exist in our database, that exist in our platform, can have a better description for especially these target groups who are either blind or visually impaired. And I think also how this description can be generated is also a very interesting perspective to test and validate as well. I think right now they are going for like a really user-generated, so providing a tool where user can add on their content to the pictures. But I think in terms of scaling these kind of tools, they would also probably, in the long run, maybe also after completing this program, looking at how this can be much more automated. So it's at a very prototyping stage, but yeah, it's still quite interested to see how this can also be scaled and maybe even really implemented in our in the Wikimedia projects like Commons.
I have one more question.
Actually, it's not completely a question. It's more like just a wild idea I have at the moment that resulting from what you were talking, but probably like you noticed in recent days, there was like this development of this software where you are describing certain image and then the software is creating this image out there. Would it be actually maybe useful to try to organize some users to practice in something like that, how to describe photo, and then, I mean, you are able to see because this algorithm is creating the image based only on what you describe to it. And maybe to practice it in a way to see how to get as close results as possible, and then to actually use editor to put those descriptions. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a very great comment on that. I think they probably will get to that stage soon, hopefully. I mean, they just started this summer, right? So it's a very on the prototyping way, but I think that once this kind of first prototype is out there, probably it would make sense, as you suggested, to really like get tested by users, how they are working with that, how is the experience, how is the interfaces and all this of using the tools, so that to know how this can be used in real context. Definitely. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. And one more question. Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone. This is also rather a comment than a question, but yeah, I think it will involve an element of a question as well. So, as far as I was aware, in the Russian Wikipedia, there was something like audio articles. So they just basically recorded audio versions of certain articles, and well, as a part of their accessibility project. For me, as a blind person using a speech synthesizer, this is not a very good experience. Well, not the best option. I mean, for those who are blind or visually impaired, except if they cannot, for a reason, use the speech synthesizers or any other special programs. As far as I am aware, and I checked that in Belgrade during the last meeting of that kind, the Serbian language is also available on Braille terminals. And so you can you can use a Braille terminal to access Wikipedia and read or write articles. And speaking of the graphics, I am aware that there are certain kinds of graphic tablets which transform images into a kind of a code, and then put this code out on a tablet that that is accessible for a blind person. So is it possible? Is there any perspective in using these tablets in connection with the technology that you mentioned?
That's a good question. I think I would have to take this question back to the teams who are working on this. To be honest, I'm sorry, I don't know.
I just want to maybe go back to Kanika's comment. These comments are really great, and these kind of comments we need to maybe go back to the teams and give them these feedback. But then again, they are at the beginning of their journey, and this is what Unlock is all about, to just help them create the idea and develop the idea by giving them the skills, and then they can actually implement these ideas. So yeah, we will definitely go back to them and give them those.
Yeah, and maybe just in addition to that, to those who just commented, especially on the Inclusio projects, please join us on October 27th at the demo day, when they presented their final result within the program. And I think these are really great and valuable comments that they need to hear. I mean, we will bring that to them, but maybe you just join and see what they have developed until then. That would be great.
Yeah, this will be the opportunity to ask anything you like them directly, and even to suggest something they can do. Okay?
Or even to collaborate with them.
Yeah, why not? So are there any questions, comments? Okay, so thank you very much for joining and listening to us and giving your comments, and thank you, Kanika, for joining online. So I'll give a word to Tony to present their project. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nino. This is my colleague Tony. We are from Macedonia, from Shared Knowledge Macedonia. I was formerly known as the semi-professional driver working for them and taking wiki expeditions, but now I would like to talk to you for our new project which started this year, and it's called Capacity Development for Underrepresented Communities. This project aims to develop capacities sustaining the Romanian and Balkan Romani Wikipedias, as well as to enable the people with hearing loss who use the Macedonian Sign Language to contribute to the Wikimedia projects, as I mentioned. There are a few challenges that we needed to address early in this project. The first one was the community building of the underrepresented communities. This means that since the communities of the Romanian and the Balkan Romani Wikipedias are almost non-existent, and the native speakers of these two languages are gradually decreasing, the challenge of our project was to conduct a research and to identify which of the native speakers are going to participate, and to encourage them to build a community which would have to achieve the sustainable growth of these two Wikipedias. The second was to identify the resources. Although the Romanian and Romani constitutionally are recognized as minority languages in Macedonia, they're only co-official at local, at municipal level, so there is no full curriculum in either of these two languages, and the written materials are scarce. This poses difficulties for us and this community to digitalize these materials and for future editing purposes. And the third challenge was experimenting, and that means that we are going to try to use the new methods of community engagement, thinking as for the users of the Macedonian Sign Language to get involved in editing the Wikimedia projects, which will involve presence of a sign language interpreter during the public events. The development of the project is split in 3 phases. Right now we are on the second phase, that's the implementation phase. We finished the first one, the research phase, which lasted for about 3 months. And the final phase is the evaluation phase, which is planned to finish in the beginning of the next year. I'm mainly going to talk to you about the research phase and what we learned because it's already finished, and what we're going to do in the implementation phase today. The research phase was consisted of 2 things: a survey distributed to the members of the community and an interview with experts about the community. Main areas in the survey that were addressed were the demographics, the language, and the Wikipedia itself. And the main questions that we needed to be answered in the interview with the professionals and the experts in the community were general questions about the state of the language, the availability of the printed and digital materials in the language, the challenges and the needs that this language needs, and the best learning methods. I will speak later for each one of them. What lessons did we learn? Almost at the beginning of our phase, I must admit, we had this idea, but we weren't know what challenges, especially the Macedonian Sign Language faces, until we conduct the research and the survey. the speakers of the endangered languages have different speaking and writing skills. Some of them speak natively, some of them fluently, some of them even on the beginner's level. Unstandardized languages have different varieties that are difficult to deal with. There is no one universal variety that controls and gathers all the different varieties of the language. Underrepresented languages lack written materials, as I mentioned before, therefore lack even digital materials. And users of the sign language lack fluently in the underlying language. So the thing that we learned here was that, as I thought, and most of us, I think, thought that when the people who are using sign language to communicate, it's the same for them if they're reading something. That's not true. It's difficult for them to read something, because when they, for example, when they are reading in Macedonian, they then translate what they read in their sign language to understand. So they are making a double translation. I'm gonna go quickly for the interest of time with what we find in the surveys, language by language. First, I'm going to talk about the Romanian language community. Most of the surveyed speakers are employed and hold an academic degree, and half of them were age 40 or less, with the age group 18 to 30 being the largest one. Slightly over half of the speakers are located in Skopje, and the second one is Bitol and 6 other towns in Macedonia. At vast majority of speakers access internet from mobile phone, or around 40% of them are accessing internet through using a PC or personal computer or a laptop. What we find in the survey about the language itself, most of the survey stated that they can speak some Romanian language, around 90%, but only about a third can speak on a native level. However, when it comes to writing, the figures go down even lower. The majority still has some proficiency in writing, but only 6 or around 17% indicated that they write on a native level the Romanian language. There is a big tendency, there is a dominant part of the survey stated that they learned the Romanian language within their family. And the third part of our survey was about the Wikipedia itself. All surveyed speakers said that they are reading and using Wikipedia, but very few of them are editing, only 3%, and only 7% are having a Wikipedia account. About 1/3 is using Wikipedia on a weekly basis, and the other thirds are more or less frequent. A little above 2/3 have heard about another Wikimedia project, which is Wikidata, Wikimedia Commons as being the best known. And most of the surveyed speakers think that Wikipedia lacks topics about the Romanian culture, as well as articles about famous Romanians, and that the articles are not sufficient in size. Opinions are divided between the surveyed speakers about the reliability of the access articles of the topics. And what we found about in the interview phase, what challenges and needs have this community of the Romanian language community. The first challenge is the conservation of the language. Young generations of the Romanian language less and less are using the language, and there are a few families with two Romanian parents which can then proceed the knowledge of the language to their children. However, there is an increasing number of young Romanians declaring their origin and willing to learn the language, but they're facing difficulties of finding printed materials and or digitalized materials to learn the language. Therefore, the needs are the opportunities to learn the language. There was a suggestion that the government should financially support non-government organizations to organize Romanian courses. Furthermore, it was noted that it would be beneficial to establish a department of the Romanian language in higher education, which would consist of linguists who would then train teachers from primary and secondary schools to teach the language to their pupils. Now I'm going to go with the Romani language community. Pretty much the answers were the same about the language. About the demographics are some differences. The vast majority were again under age 40. Most of them were unemployed, and half of them are having an academic degree. Almost a third of the participants in the survey were stated in Skopje, and the majority was divided between 15 other towns in Macedonia, and very few of them were abroad. Again, the large majority of the speakers accessed the internet through mobile phone, and other significant part was accessing through a personal computer or a laptop. What we find in the survey about the language of the Roman language community is that most of the survey stated that they have some speaking proficiency in Romani language, about 90% almost, and half of those speak it at a native level. With regards of the writing proficiency, again, the numbers and the figures are lower. The vast majority of the Romani community learned the language in the family, and significant part learned that with their friends. Again, the vast majority of the surveyed think that the language is underrepresented in the Macedonian media, and that there are not enough printed as well as digital materials in the language. People with higher education are more pessimistic about the status of the language in the Macedonian society. The older generations are still pessimistic about are concerned about the status of the language, but are on the opinion that the language is not that underrepresented. What we find about this community using the Wikipedia is that almost all of the surveyed are reading Wikipedia, and very few of them again are editing, although there are around 8% that have a Wikipedia account. By far, the Macedonian Wikipedia is the most popular edition, with also a significant share using the English Wikipedia, and only 6% of them they stated that they are using the Wikipedia in the Romani language. Almost more than third-fourths have not heard of any other Wikimedia project, and Wikidata was the best-known other Wikimedia project. Again, the large majority that were surveyed think that Wikimedia lacks topics about famous people, Romani people, and Romani culture. and about 2/3 have raised concerns regarding the reliability of the articles documenting the Romani culture and Romani people. Now we are going with the third community, the Macedonian Sign Language, the demographics. This was the perhaps the youngest group of them all, with vast majority persons were aged under 40 and were unemployed, and very few of them had academic degree. Around a third of them are based in Skopje, and the others are living here in Ohrid and in Bitola. And large majority, again, are accessing internet using the mobile phones. About the language, most of the surveyed stated that they are native users of the Macedonian Sign Language, but only 20% can use, and only 40% of them can write in Macedonian language, which is different, at a native level. And majority learn the Macedonian Sign Language within their family or in the educational processes. Whereas the dominant majority, this concludes that there is a positive correlation between the level of education and proficiency in the Macedonian Sign Language and the Macedonian language. Almost all of the surveyed stated that Macedonian language is not, Macedonian Sign Language is not well represented in the Macedonian media institutions such as the public administrations, banks, lawyers, coffee shops, restaurants, cultural institutions, etc. The survey, what we find in the survey about the using of the Wikipedia is that all of the surveyed persons are using Wikipedia, and none of them have a Wikipedia account. And about about 2/3 of them are reading Wikipedia on a monthly basis, and only 10% of them are reading it every day. None of those, as I mentioned, none of the surveys have heard about other Wikimedia projects. And significantly, majority of the survey think that Wikipedia lacks topics about Macedonian Sign Language and the culture of its community, as well as the articles and famous users of the Macedonian Sign Language. What we find about in the interview of the challenges and needs of this community, first of all, there is a difficulty in communication. The Macedonian Sign Languages have difficulties to lip read in the absence of a sign language interpreter or translator. And this problem aggravated during the COVID pandemic. Obviously, we were all wearing masks, and they weren't able to communicate on a daily basis. The second challenge was the comprehension of scientific technology. What this means? This means that the scientific terminology is often alien to the Macedonian Sign Language users, which puts them in a difficult situation when communicating with specialists in certain fields, such as in medical environment, economics environment, law, etc. There is a discrimination in the society for this community. The Macedonian Sign Language users have difficulties in getting employed, and even more difficulties in getting promoted. Also, there is an unfair treatment of this community by the driving schools and even the police when attending the training for a driving license, because they are concentrated on the driving, but they cannot hear, obviously, in the environment. And what we find are their needs in this interview is the use of the technological tools to help them to aid while writing in the Macedonian language, such as spell check and autocorrect tools, because they have difficulties writing this language. That's about as quickly as I could to give you information about the research phase. Right now, we are going with the implementation phase. The activity planning and the meetings holding with the communities are pretty much done. We are now just determining the dates when we are going to organize the workshops, editons, and writing contests. Organizing workshops will be held online and in person, depending on the situations. The organizing editons will be, we are also planning to organize them both in person and online, in which the participants will be trained to edit Wikipedia and to have opportunity to edit articles with, by the mentorship of experienced Wikipedians. And the organizing writing contests is are towards filling the gap in thematic areas which are relevant to their communities. Additionally, we also plan to organize writing contests to motivate them to continue with the editing. I think that's it. I will give the floor to my colleague Tony for any questions.
If you have it, yeah. If you have any questions about the project, this is completely new. As I stated before, the movement strategy implementation grants. This is, I think, the first one in our community, like in the global movement. The underrepresented languages are not so covered, so this is pilot project. We will see how it will be the results. I know the results from the research phase may seem like a little boring, but for us was very important to know because that's from these results, depending how to implement, how to include these communities in the next phase that we're doing now. So if you have any comments, suggestions, okay, Vyacheslav?
Okay, I do have certain comments, even though I'm not very familiar with the situation with the sign language, or more precisely sign languages, because Macedonian is definitely not the only sign language in the Balkans, let alone in the whole region under consideration. First off, you mentioned spell checkers. Is it a common thing for the deaf community in Macedonia to to still make mistakes because of these spell checkers? What I mean is that the spell checker for Polish or for Russian, or maybe for Serbian as well, I've never tried that, can accidentally substitute one word for another, which look very similar. But the meaning is like totally different, and maybe some of these words do not suit the context. So how common are such mistakes in the speech practice, in the written speech practice of the users of the Macedonian Sign Language? And the second question is, well, currently in the Polish Wiktionary, we do not have a separate section, a separate category for the Polish Sign Language. Instead, these these words, these signs are represented in the special sign writing system within the translation section of the Polish words. Mm-hmm. So, what about the implementation of that or any other solution for representing the Macedonian Sign Language in the Macedonian Wiktionary?
Yes. About the first question, when we talk and we had an interview, we conduct an interview with the interpreter from the Macedonian Sign Language community. They inform us that the proper videos in the we all know they are not sufficient way. So it is sufficient way for them, for the sign language community, will be to using 360 the whole video. Not because of that, when you think in just in front of you, and you think on only one dimension of signing, but when you think in the whole angle, you will see on which direction or what direction I'm using, and because that depending of the sign language community, because they have it on the same from the one angle, they have it one interpretation, but from different angle they have it a different interpretation, and that is basically different words. So we in this phase we are thinking that we will not going with videos like they do it until now, but we will use the advice that the interpreter give us during the interview. About second question, our even wiki dictionary that project on the Macedonian language is not so active, only one user. So we, in this phase, we are not thinking to involve that project. We will see first with Wikipedia and afterwards with another Wikimedia projects. Claudia?
Thank you. I really appreciate that you take the strategy movement opportunities and look at the minorities. I think this is quite important. And given the fact that these particular two minorities, ethnic minorities that you looked at, are recognized minorities in other countries in the region, what would be the opportunity of doing collaborative project in the region with other chapters or user groups?
Yes, we're open for that, and I actually we plan to talk with you about this to find and to expand this initiative, which minority languages, especially these two mentioned here, are represented in another countries, especially in the Balkan region. Asaf?
Quick question. Given the literacy and fluency data that you presented, it is likely that a thriving Wikipedia may never materialize in those languages in the sense of a major reference work rather than a preservationist effort for the language. And so I'm wondering if those people might be interested in documenting their language and their culture more using the sister projects, Wiktionary, Wikisource, documenting the language on Lexeme. Is that something that is in the conversations with them?
Yeah, I just on the session before about Lexeme, I was not into that project, so that's actually opened my mind about that we can connect Lexeme into our projects. So yes, definitely we will redo that. So thank you for that. Any other comments, suggestions?
Are you going to include any of those materials into Macedonia Wikipedia?
To translate, you mean to translate edited pages about?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, why not? we were not think about that in the first place, but why not? Actually, we have a plan. It is an initiative WikiGap, which is annually done with Swedish Embassy, and they offering us to include Romanian and Romani people into their WikiGap initiative, and it will be at the end of November, and it will like the first hybrid event when we have it like 3 languages doing that editathon. So we will how that will happen. So.
And would you expect
from the community, like from Macedonian community, to have it like negative, I don't expect. Okay, thank you all. If you want to find this interesting, you can find us at the break so we can talk more. Thank you all.
I think I'll not be using slides. Okay. Hello, everyone. Is it on? Yeah, it is. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Okay, nice to hear that. Okay. Certain aspects of the topic that I am going to cover in the lecture have already been discussed, well, this actually makes the whole lecture and discussion a bit easier. But my objective in these circumstances is to broaden the perspective of participation of people with sensory deprivations, be it visual impairment, total blindness, visual impairment, deafness, or hearing impairment, within the Wikimedia projects in our region. Well, first off, what are the technical difficulties and technical possibilities for those who would like to participate in these projects as members of the blind or deaf communities? First off, of course, everyone might have heard about the speech synthesizers and other programs available for the blind community, enabling them to read and write texts. And the first difficulty has been addressed by the last but one lecturer. The problem was that most of the pictures are not described, and some of them are not even describable in a way that a blind person could understand. By that I mean that there are certain limitations as to what can be put into a text when describing a picture. So for a very easy example would be that certain pictures and certain illustrations are based on color difference, which makes it unintelligible for totally blind or colorblind people, even though there might be a description. However, this is not the case I would like to dwell upon and to address within this lecture. The situation has changed slightly for several minority languages of Russia, as far as I'm aware. Because the last time I lectured on this on a similar topic in Belgrade during the Central and Eastern Europe Wikimedia CEE meeting, some of the minority languages of Russia were not represented in when it comes to the technology, the Braille terminals and other programs involving a conversion from like cited text into Braille. More specifically, that was the case with the language that I am working on, with the Bashkir language. Meanwhile, both a speech synthesizer and a Braille table for Braille terminals have appeared and have been implemented, which makes the situation way better than it was before. However, the Russian governmental restrictions on teaching the native languages have affected the ability of, well, the access of the blind community to the minority languages in question. And I am sure that in certain schools for the blind in the minority regions of Russia, in the autonomies for non-Russians in the country, it is hardly possible or even impossible to have the minority language taught using the Braille system and other means to accessible for the blind and visually impaired. So the other thing that I have already mentioned in one of the comments are the audio articles. I was asked, like sometime before the conference, by a participant of the Ukrainian Wikipedia, who is currently not here. He's not attending the conference. If the audio articles are of any use when it comes to the accessibility for the blind. On the one hand, yes, and not just for the blind, but for those who, for this or any other reason, cannot access a written text. Well, that is one of the possible solutions. However, I would not say that this is the best one, especially given that we have a long list of technologies, including the speech synthesis, that enables the people to access the most recent versions of articles, which audio articles do not have, do not guarantee. However, there are two cases when I would say that the audio articles are a good interim option, a good temporary option. The first thing is when the language is, when the technology has not been developed for the language in question. And the second thing is when the language uses several scripts of which not everyone are accessible, accessible for blind and visually impaired. For instance, I am sure that there is the Kazakh Braille script in Cyrillic. However, the Kazakhs in Turkey and European countries who tend to use Latin script, and the Kazakhs in China, I think, well, as far as I am aware, they do not have the Braille versions of these scripts available, like readily available, which means that they're stripped of the possibility to access the content on the Kazakh Wikipedia using the Braille terminal. This can be this issue can be solved by implementing a number of state-sponsored, governmental, or like academic measures, including but not limited to developing the Braille scripts in question and implementing the respective codes and tables into the Braille terminals and other other technologies available for the blind. Well, I think in Kazakhstan this is currently being worked on. As far as I am aware, the transition from the Cyrillic script to Latin in Kazakhstan also involves the creation of a new version of Braille script. However, the whole situation is a little slowed down because during the last few years, several versions of the Latin script for Kazakh have been proposed, which makes it, like, temporarily, like at the moment, it makes it impossible to create a respective Braille of the Braille. On another note, there are languages like, let's say, Macedonian, that do have readily available Braille documents and the rules of writing and reading the Braille script. However, the implementation of these scripts into technologies remains scarce. The last time I tried to print something out in Macedonian, that was outside of the country. That's my first time in Macedonia right now. So the last time I had to do that, I had to specify the language of the text as Serbian, so as to allow the Braille printer to configure the respective Braille table, which is by far the closest one available for the text in these languages. And the next thing was to replace the two specific Macedonian graphemes with the corresponding Serbian. These symbols like stand for letters and for empty spaces. Apart from that, another major issue, which is like partially resolved at the moment, is graphics. So there are two readily available options: either descriptions, which I've already mentioned in one of the comments, or these graphic tablets that are like not really not as popular as the Braille terminals. However, they transform the pictures into an accessible code, which in turn is put out on a graphic tablet and makes it possible to for the blind to access the graphic material. So far, the next issue, not directly related to accessibility, the accessibility and ready availability of technologies, is the involvement of the blind and visually impaired people and to contributing to Wikipedia and other Wikimedia projects. As far as I'm aware, there have been plans within Wikimedia Polska, of which I'm a member, to organize a workshop on editing the wiki projects in the school in Laski near Warsaw, the school for the blind. However, due to the pandemic and for certain other reasons, this has not yet been organized, and I will do everything that everything possible to actually enable the collaboration, which by all means will be fruitful, of the wiki movement with the schools, with this and other schools for the blind in Poland. When it comes to technical easiness, the technical ease of editing the certain projects, and given the areas of interest that the blind tend to adhere to, I think that Wiktionary is currently a more accessible project than Wikipedia. Given that all the articles on Wiktionary are structured, I have enough experience in working with the Polish Wiktionary to say that all the articles are structured, and with the implementation of a certain gadget, which transforms the editing field into a form which is way more accessible when you're using a speech synthesizer or screen reading software. Well, this makes it easier for a blind person familiar with the technology to edit and contribute to the article. To any articles in the Polish Wiktionary. As far as I'm aware, the articles in Serbian, Bosnian, and Macedonian Wiktionaries are organized in a similar way, which makes it possible to implement the same gadget further on. Well, but as far as I was told, the Macedonian Wiktionary is not very active, which actually could be corrected if we collaborate with the Schools for the Blind and the other community, well, and the other centers of this community. On another note, I think there is a way to go when it comes to Wikivoyage, which is a relatively new project, which is why it was not mentioned during my last presentation in Belgrade on a similar topic. I would suggest that every location that is described in the Wikivoyage, every location page could include a sub-page or like a section, which talks about this location, which actually informs about this location from the perspective of the blind. This is important as not everything that is accessible for a sighted person, be it hard of hearing or the one that has normal hearing, is accessible and of interest for those who can barely see or cannot see at all. I know personally several blind bloggers, including totally blind ones, who actually provide very substantial information on blind travels, which would make it beneficial to include this information into the Wikivoyage, maybe as a subsection for every locality page. The other thing, on another note, speaking of the deaf community this time, the solution similar to audio articles, like the translations of written articles into a certain sign, the respective sign language, are a good interim option. However, the situation remains the same as with the audio articles in Russian and other Wikipedias. The articles are not as easy, the video articles for the deaf and hearing impaired are not as easily editable as the written articles. And another thing when it comes to the deaf community that I could mention, another issue which has been partially resolved in the Polish Wiktionary, but not in certain other projects, especially in the Balkan languages that I have the experience of contributing to, is the inclusion of a subsection of related to the sign language, the respective sign language, into the Wiktionary articles. So in the Polish sign language, this has been partially resolved, and there is a separate category for Polish sign language lexemes, except that all these entries are not separate. They form a part of the respective Polish entries. Because, there is no standardized, unified writing system for sign languages whatsoever, and the Polish sign language in particular, which is why they tend to use the sign writing system. That's readily available and quite widespread inside the Polish articles in the section of translations. Whether or not the the Wikimedia projects, like separate Wikimedia projects in sign languages of our region will appear is not yet known, and by far there has not been enough collaboration to between the Wiki movement and the dev community to determine whether this is a viable idea. However, we do have the Wikipedia, the test Wikipedia in the American Sign Language, available on the incubator, which would suggest that this is technically possible to create Wikipedias in other sign languages as well. However, the problem remains the same. Not all the symbols used in sign writing and other writing systems for sign languages are readily available in the Unicode. And not all of them are basically known to the deaf community itself, especially those who have lost hearing as a result of certain events in the later in life, like not at birth but later in life. So for now, the situation in the during the last several years, the situation with the inclusion of people with sensory deprivations into the wiki communities has slightly changed. In a lot of respects, it has become way easier to collaborate with the people to actually include the respective information into the Wikimedia wikis. But there still are certain difficulties which are yet to be overcome. Any questions or comments?
Thank you so much for the presentation. This is my first event, and so I haven't heard your presentations before, but I think it's very valuable to have your insight in the Wikimedia projects that are being developed. And I took notes on what you suggested. One concern that I have is I've been working with NGOs in Romania that work with people with various abilities. It's very expensive in terms of time and effort to develop these types of projects, accessibility projects, and if the technology or the support drops at one point, I feel it's a greater loss than just regular projects. And I'm just wanted to ask if you are aware, like Wikivoyage or Wikidictionaries, if those have enough technical support to make sure that an investment in developing the project that you suggested would actually lead to some concrete results, or just more frustration?
Well, speaking of, thank you very much for this question. It is indeed understandable for the blind and visually impaired, accessible and understandable descriptions of how to get to certain places, what can be of interest, and so on. But this is just on paper at the moment. I think that would not be that would definitely not be a loss to include that into Wikivoyage even as plain text, let alone more detailed descriptions with audio and with maybe explanations for visually impaired, more detailed explanations. As far as Wiktionary is concerned, so the only issue, that has been resolved and that is yet to be resolved in, that has been resolved in the Polish Wiktionary, and it is yet to be resolved in several others of our in our region, is the compatibility of the technology that we use with the speech synthesizers. For now, there have been no major issues that I know of, except for, reading the sign writing system with the speech synthesizer, which is technically not an easy thing to dwell upon, not an easy thing to correct. However, that would improve the readability of those translations and eventually the Wikipedias in their respective sign languages for the deaf-blind community, which is often omitted during such discussions. And I do know several deaf-blind people in Russia, Poland, and certain other countries who are able and willing to read and contribute to the wiki projects, which means that this is an issue yet to be resolved.
There is no other one.
Oh, there are no other questions? So,
just a moment.
oh, there is.
Thank you very much for the presentation, really interesting. I was wondering if there are other people that work on similar issues within the movement. Perhaps there is a user group or other individuals that you work with. And I'm from the movement strategy and governance team, and I wonder, like you said, there was supposed to be a workshop or a meeting in Poland to have a session, but it didn't happen. I wonder what kind of support, or have you thought of applying for a grant to organize some activities? But maybe I can also talk to you after this.
Of course, we will continue the discussion afterwards. However, the only reason that this didn't happen was actually my lack of ability to collaborate during the especially during the pandemic with the rest of the movement, and this would actually require several volunteers knowledgeable of the technologies, of the technologies available for the blind, screen reading software and others, which made it a bit difficult to organize this workshop in Poland. Although we still do have plans to revive the idea. And yes, there is a user group of which I am a supporter, which is Wikiblind, and I'm not sure if there are any other Polish members at the moment. The workshop in Poland, I think it is going to take place once the technical issues are resolved, because there is willingness from both sides to be in touch. I mean, the wiki community, on behalf of the community, I could at least start introducing Wikipedia to the students and teachers of the School for the Blind in Laski near Warsaw. And the school is more than ready to accept this and many other initiatives pertaining to inclusion of the blind into the world of information and the interactive and the digital environment.
There is no other question.
Okay, thanks everyone.